Hi, I'm Malvika, Sharan. I'm a senior researcher at the Turing Institute, where I lead a project called the Turing Way. And I am a co-founder and co-director for Open Life Science, which is a mentoring and training initiative for data science in communities that are generally out of the conversation. So some of my motivation to work across these projects are to ensure that we are focusing on community and apply community-first approaches. How do we build better, inclusive, more collaborative approaches to not just data science, project development, but also approaches through which people come together, think about an idea, co-create solution, and bring it back to their own communities. So talking specifically about the Turing Way, it is a book on data science that's being created by an international community of contributors, over 500 co-authors who have written guides on reproducibility, project design, communication, collaboration, and ethics. This is a project always in development, and the reason for that is that data science and AI is evolving in such a fast pace that we can't expect to write a complete book ever, and we shouldn't. As an open source project, it allows us to engage with people who are experts in the field, update it, and highlight things that they care about. One of my colleagues mentions this project as equivalent to Wikipedia, but for data scientists and people interested in data science in a way that seems inclusive for everyone. And we also talk about global best practice when we are in open science space. And we can't think about global if we don't have global communities involved. So we also very carefully think about how do we reduce barrier to entry. And not just reduce barrier to entry so people can access, but they can actively participate in the co-production and use of the resources in a way that benefits them and their community particularly. Some of our community members who have formed working groups, it's very important to look at some of the work that they do. So for example, we have a team that works on translation and localization of these resources, which means not just translating text by text, but thinking about cultural context that we need to remember when we are thinking about communities outside the global north. So some names are, for example, the Carpentries, which is a global initiative as well. They are translating their resources and they work with us in aligning on these practices. So we're not building practice in silos. So one of the great things about open source communities is that these community leaders from different communities can come and work on similar ideas, create shared resources, and bring it back in a way that is not reinventing the wheel, making it efficient for everyone, keeping it sustainable and maintainable for a long period of time, specifically when we still are navigating how to find fundings to sustain so many great projects out there. In terms of education and training, we really want to engage with early career researchers because those are the most receptive people to these ideas. They're still learning about practices, and it is very important to bring them early on in their training so they see open science and open source as a normal practice and not just something that we're bringing later on in their career and making it hard for them to understand how it fits with the traditional way of working. A lot of time we also work with senior researchers to make them understand how to train their students or their teams in adopting open source practices. One project that I'm part of is called Data Science Without Borders, where we work with communities in African continent. APHRC in Kenya and Africa CDC are supporting 4 to 5 different health-related organizations in Cameroon, Senegal, and Ethiopia to understand what data readiness looks like for them. And of course, Africa is a big nation with everyone at different level of learning and adoption of data science. So it's been very interesting thinking about practices in that context. How do we take these practices and make them adoptable for people who are working with very different kinds of resources than we are used to? And what does ways of working looks like when we don't even know the regulatory landscape for one country? How do we bring multiple countries together and comply with data protection policies? Or how does GDPR translate into work when you collaborate with African researchers? So I really love working in open science, open space because it allows us to keep the humility that we would never know everything, and that's okay. There's always an expert out there that we can connect with who knows better than us. This collaborative approach also allows us to really push for what we are really good at and make sure that we are involving these diverse actors into our conversation and thinking about what is the best way to use the limited resource and time we have got. And then we talk about the current situation where we are experiencing different kind of climate disaster and wars and health conditions that need to be addressed. This is this has always been urgent, but I think we need to be really, really out there and doing our work as openly as possible. So yeah, please check out the Turing Way. Use these resources for yourself, bring it back in your own communities, and help us inform other people what good research looks like in the open.